Hello and welcome to Christmas Cheer Central by Nicole B. Stampin'. Today I'm going to demonstrate a technique of stamping this background piece here with a block. First you'll want two different colors of ink, and so I'm using Pool Party and Blueberry Bushel. Get those set up here. I'm stamping on my grid pad, but if you aren't stamping on a grid pad, I would recommend the Stampin' Up! Paper Pierce mat. This is great to put underneath and add a little bit of foam push to give it a little bit of a sponge area, because you're going to want a little bit of that give. I'm doing it right on my grid paper mat, so that also gives that sponge a little bit of sponge. I have just a piece of white cardstock here. This is a layer, so for my card that you can see here, I have a double layer. So this is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. I'm going to be using the H block for my stamp, and I have my spritz. My Stampin' Spritz, and it's just filled with some water. Oops. It's just filled with some water in here. So that's all I have inside of it is some water. All right, and that's it. That's all we need for this technique, and we're going to get started. So you want to make sure your block is clean, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to push my block straight into my ink, and I'm going to do half the block here. And you can kind of see that there. And then I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to do the other half of the block. And I started with the light color because if you would accidentally get the light into the dark, it doesn't matter, but you get the dark into the light and that starts to mess up your pad. So you can kind of see there, I'm covered in ink. I'm going to set my stamp pads aside and my paper for this next step. Normally I would do this over the floor or something, not on my workspace, but I want you to see what I'm doing here. I'm going to give myself a good distance. So you can see my distance here. I don't want to be really close to the block. I want to be back from the block a little bit. And I'm going to spray it really good here. Multiple sprays. And see how it's wet and it starts to smear here, which is exactly what we want. So I'm bringing my paper back in on my wet surface. This is why we do it over the floor, not our surface. All right, and I'm gonna flip, and you gotta be careful because you don't want it to drip everywhere. I'm gonna flip it and stamp and give it a nice push down on my paper and lift. And that's it. There is my ink. Look how cool that is. Yes, there's a couple spots here. Sometimes you won't get them, sometimes you will. I think that's part of the beauty. And you'll want to clean your block between each so you have a fresh, dry surface before you start. You will set this aside to dry before you do any further, but then you can come in and, like here, I stamped my leaf once it was dry and some words, and I added, and you can see how every one of them will be a little different. Here's another one I did. See, I got a little extra on this one. Here's another one I did. It bled, and it's just really beautiful how that technique comes out. And you can do this with any of your blocks and any of your inks. All right, I hope you have a good rest of your day and you enjoyed my technique today. Happy holidays.